Oh, that could have been embarrassing. I started live split early. It'd be a good low 23. No, 23.30. Exactly the same as earlier. Cool. I think this initial jump sucks. Oh my goodness. Just grab, don't let go. That should be let go. Okay, cool. We should be coming out of here on good time if we do the last section properly. Oh my goodness. That's the one thing I didn't want to do. And that as well. Fine, we'll play with this. 1 second. Fine. Okay, interesting start. Okay, no, that's not gonna happen. Hello, Dr. Shelby. Yes, indeed. Although, actually, we're not going to have too much Knuckles here. We are having some good old Charmy and Mighty action. I'm going to switch it to this, because it's morning. Okay. Welcome. I hope you are doing well. This is a sort of a quiet stream for me. No webcam, just my pet for the day. But I hope you're doing well on this Saturday. Don't know why I did that. I'm losing time already. It's a I'll tell people it's a manipulation. Up. Oh, this is a land speed slider 1. Is there any reason Mighty is used over Heavy? Heavy is disgusting. Actually, no. That's disrespecting him a bit too much, but Heavy's just a bit too heavy, sadly. Although, having said that, somebody has done a speedrun that is a Mighty and Bomb run, which technically isn't possible in this game without the use of debug mode, but it is what it is. Hello, Epic Gamers from Katie's stream. How was SA2? I hope it's going better than this Chaotix, because this Chaotix be kind of cheeks right now. Oh, so true. So true. You say it, sister. Okay, we managed to avoid the invincibility box, which is good. Okay, good ring management here so far. Nice, I'm happy with that. Even if it wasn't good RNG, bad time of day, yeah, not too bad. So the advantage of picking Mighty is that he's got he's one of the lighter characters, and he's got a smaller hitbox so that we can get him through slopes and such.
Sad face.
This is so sad. 4 months. This is so sad. Thank you for the resub, gamer. I hope the emotes haven't lost their charm. Ooh. I'm gonna start losing my charm with this RNG that I'm getting right now. Level 3. Right. Oh no, idiot. I ain't feeling too hot about this run, I'm not gonna lie. I know, that's me in my true form. Oh. Oh, we're not going to be able to get rid of the bonus before it comes around. That's not too long of a countdown though. BB3. That's still losing time. Ah, might reset this. We might do a little resetting. Depends how the next stage goes. Roman with the peak copy pasta material. Me when I spiel. I spiel everywhere. Okay, there's nothing much that can really go wrong in this stage, so... But yes, Roman, how are you doing? It's lovely to see you. A Saturday morning. Did you get your delivery in the end, or was it blown away? $18? Oh, just 19. Oh, I think that saves time. Yeah. That's really annoying that it took them 2.5 hours to say, oh yeah, no, it is actually cancelled. But bless people who have to work out in this sort of weather. I would not want to be them. I would not want to be them. Techno Tower 1. Okay. Let us see, shall we? Oh, Almighty, don't do this to me. Okay. And that saved some time, but only like 1 second. Whereas I've been losing more than that over the course of the run. Okay, we'll keep going. I'm afraid all these chaotic streams have sort of turned into just salt fests. And I'm like, yeah, this is good, but it could be better. I've got to come to terms with the fact that this game is never going to give me perfect RNG in a run. I'll just have to let it be. Cool. Good RNG though. Bad time. You know what's great about the Echidna Abomination? Can really zoom in. I think it comes around this way, so. I want to change it to the angle where it like is really in your face. Like really in your face. Right, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Let's zoom out a little bit. There we go. You do be walking. You do be walking. Don't do it, Mighty. Mighty, why do you have to do this to me? Clip? Oh. Clip just hasn't been happening recently. Oh. Damn, I have lost my spark for this stage. Can you afford it, RPG? I'm looking at getting first class tickets, and that's the only space that they've got left on the train. Also, I don't think I've said hello. Hello, Squirrelbob. And good morning, RPG. Ooh. To be fair, I don't think they have ticket machines in Greatly, so I think you can get away with it, yeah. I'm not condoning this, it's not like I've ever done something similar in my life, because my local train station definitely does have ticket machines. I'd never not pay for a ticket if it wasn't needed. Nice. Excuse me. Thank you. Ah. Almost mighty. Got the right spirit. Oh. That wasn't brilliant. Oh, was it? Maybe it was. Okay. Every so often I've been thinking to myself, like, if this is the run, would I be proud of the chat that I had? If it goes up on YouTube, if it goes up towards marathons and stuff. I think in my previous Chaotix world record, I was talking about HUDs being, like... I can't remember what the stereotype was, but I thought that he looked like some sort of particular car driver. I don't know which car it was. Oh, you suck. Nice. So RNG isn't particularly good here, but it's not bad either. Actually, maybe this is the best RNG. Maybe it is. And you just never knew. Yo, getting to the boss in under 50 seconds. That's actually poggers. That's crazy. Yeah, maybe day is the best time of day. Yeah, I even took a hit earlier. That's crazy. Monitor, don't cut out now, thank you. Okay, might get hit there, we didn't. Ooh. Yo, that's a big time save. In my PB, that was a 142. That was a 129 there. How far through the stream is that? 15 minutes in. Might submit that to TSC. Okay, this is where the run actually matters. Any blesses, any beg emotes in the chat, now is the time. This is where things need blessing. Oh, come on, none of these have gone through. Okay. Okay, what did we get in PB? We got 20 in PB, but we also got a secret bonus in PB. So, sort of, I don't know, each to his own, I guess. Yo, we love some JW mates. Let's go. Also, good morning, Alis. I hope you're doing well. All things considered, I'm trying to do well, all things considered, because this run do be kind of messy right now. Gotta messy. What was it, speed slider? Doesn't matter what time of day it is. No, I need to burp. I burped. Ooh, almost sub 17. And that's good. That's 2 seconds quicker. So I've got a notepad file just of all of the times that I got in my PB so that I can sort of measure up how well I'm doing in this run. And I don't know, yeah, we're gaming. Problem is with my PB is that I spent like considerably unnecessary amount of time in the corner boss, so even if I am behind near the end, there's still time to make back. Right, AA1, ooh, Mighty's probably gonna get hit here. Didn't, let's go. wanted to play that safe. Didn't want to play that safe though, obviously. Okay, not good RNG for this stage. Good movement though. No way we can get sub 1 here without. Yes, we can. Even without the enlarger box. Let's go. Damn, that's actually. Yeah, that's good. Let's go. Okay, that's good. That's enough slices. Yeah, cat boo to you too, Lib. Love your energy. I love that from you. Right. Which stage? Speed slider again? Okay. Oh, best time of day for this stage as well. Look at it. Like, it doesn't do anything for the speedrun, it just looks really nice. This purple is to die for. I'm glad the game dropped my input when it did, because I was about to make a wrong input. $17, is that good? Yes, another 2 seconds saved. Sounds like we got some wind coming. You have to hear it. Ooh. Gonna hit a light switch and see what time of day it is. I think it might be a good time of day. It is. Let's go. Funny bounce. Okay, ideally we don't want to get hit by an enemy here, but we could. There's every chance we could, like we did there. But we made the most of the enlarger box whilst we had it, which is good. Nice. Nice, that saved time. God, I just wish I had more time to stream this game. Because I do enjoy it, and I do want that new PB, but it's the time, you see. It do be amazing arena hours this morning. Right. Do I go for the clip here? Yeah, the knuckles are good now. I think I am. Okay, I'm gonna go for it. Just about save time. Thank you, Mighty. Very good. Let's get in the middle here. Do I have to wait for Mighty here? Oh, no, I don't. That's cool. Thought I would have had to wait for Mighty for the that thing, but obviously not. Saved to point something seconds, 0.23 seconds. Let's go. Ah. Speed slider. Stop giving me amazing arena. I don't like it. So effectively, at the moment, this run completely hinges on how good the rest of the meme clips, the Marina Madness clips go. What stage am I in? In this one. Oh, nice spin dash Mighty, let's go. Oh, a little bit risky because I think there's an enemy here. No. Oh. Ooh, almost sub a minute. Still saving time. 4 seconds. I had a really good night's sleep. I have no reason to be tired. Silly me. How dare I? How dare I be tired on a Saturday morning? Amazing, yeah. Okay, AA5. Almighty, oh, why'd you do that? Time lost. Nice, that's good. And top pipe. Thank you, Mighty. Oh, what? Nah, that's all RNG. Funny cutscene. Let's go. Yeah, this guy already be streaming. Cool. That's a decent boss. Where does that stand? 2 seconds quicker. Let's go. Hello, Broken Eye Blink. We've got another blaster. We've got another Knuckles blaster. Oh, it's Speed Slider 4. I have no reason to lose time on this. Yo, sub 14, let's go. What did I get in PV? Probably wasn't 13. Got a 1438. Whoa, look at all that time save. That's crazy. Okay, that was an interesting way of beeping, of ticking round. Speed Slider 5, let's go. This went fairly badly on the birthday stream, so let's hope it's a little bit better here. Still got this guy following us, but it's not much of an issue, might have to get rid of him. Epic, right. That was a good start. Now we want to see if we can free cycle this. Oh, yes, nice. And we landed that extra hit, let's go. Sub 1? Yeah, 57. What does that stack up? Wow, that is faster. That's 7 seconds faster than my PB. Sorry, Eggers. No fun for the Eggman today. Well, this pace is alright, but it can die right here. This is this is where the pace dies. Alright, bless. We've got to bless this again. Come on, MM3. Just for me.
Hypnot Mission 53.
Wow, this setup is dreadful. Yeah, Black Doom. That a resub. Thank you very much for the resub. I don't know how hot this pace is now. 2 months. Can't believe it's been 2 months already. Thank you so much. And enjoy Mission 53 and the other various emotes. Hopefully, gonna get some more new ones done soonish. But yes, we don't know when. 36. Okay, lost 8 seconds there. Sort of leveling out. My run is slowly leveling out. Depends how well MM5 goes. We shall see. And thank you for the good luck. As always with Chaotix, I'm gonna need it. But we're at the closing points of this run, so haven't got long to the end. No problem. It's always nice to see you. Oh, not too early there. Oh, Mighty, what are you doing, guy? Nice diagonal inputs, man. Ah. Yeah. Stinky. Yeah, Mighty's letting me down right now. Mighty is letting me down. Just thinking a speed rubber is sort of what you need after doing a pencil sharpening speedrun. Yo, Animas, did you get another run done in the end? I sure hope you didn't get the world record. Actually, if you did, that'd be pretty hype. Right, I'm not doing your stinky MM4 clips here, because I don't feel like doing so. Maybe if the run was turbo dead, I would. Don't hit the button, thank you. Yep, slow down is real. That was alright, I'm happy with that. Yeah, saved 2 seconds. Oh, all of these clips are making me lose a lot of time that I'm like saving everywhere else in the run, which is really annoying. I want my Techno Tower 5 to be good, and my Ruin Madness 5 to be good. That's all I need. And also my introductions can be better, but that's a completely different thing. Alright. Ooh, I need the clip. Just type in the right thing for forehead. Oh, lost the magic touch. He has not lost the magic touch. Okay, I'm not going to bother with that one. So I can lose all the time that I just saved there. Oh, Mighty, why'd you have to do that? What's the other one? Techno Tower. I don't know. Pace is alright. Not special, just alright. We got a really nice wedge here last time as well. Not sure about the PB for this boss though. Okay, no wedge, which kind of stinks. Okay. Mighty, come back, please. Yes. Okay. We managed to stop like the tiniest time bonus. Let's go. Okay. 2 minutes to get through this one. Could have a pace on. depends how good this Techno Tower 5 is. I haven't been very good at doing it optimally recently, so... let's bless it. Yes, that is exactly how we want to do it. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So unless this boss goes horrifically wrong, this is world record pace. Okay. First time I've had a good pace ahead of PB like this in ages. Since my PB, my actual game splits haven't been very good, so... Oh, I just know that I'm going to screw this up though, so let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, my boss was actually horrendous in my PB. My final boss, so if I don't screw anything up, should be quite a nice time, hopefully. Oh, I'm getting all happy. I haven't finished the run. The whole console could crash right now, so... Okay, it's looking good. Oh, Mighty with goated hit. Let's go. Mighty. Oh, Mighty's coming through clutch now. Oh, well, he isn't. Not all the way. Not completely goated with the source. Alright, that is time in 3, 2, 1. Completely white. Let's go. Let's go. Yo. Yo, I can't believe it. Let's go. That's such a big, PB as well. Oh my goodness. Ooh. I'm happy. I'm beginning to plug in my camera stuff so that I can actually show my face. Oh my goodness. We've done it. We've done it. And Anonymous, thank you for the raid. How did the rest of your runs go in the end? Yeah, there's still a lot of time save around this. My clips were slow. Some stages weren't brilliant. But yes, oh my goodness. Chaotix hasn't had a new PB, well, a new world record in goodness knows how long. And of course I do it in a low-key morning stream. Mornings are for gaming. What can I say? Oh. Oh. Well, I wanted that 44. Problem is now that 43 is so possible. It's so possible. Maybe I keep grinding for it. Maybe I'll keep grinding for it. Now it's Animas with the return serve. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. My hands are still shaking, like plugging everything in. Ooh, wow, that is not brilliant. Let's change that. Let's change the ISO as well, because you can't see much. ISO water. We did it! I can't believe it. I'm so happy. Oh. Yeah, my hands are still a little bit shaky. Oh, let's bring the boy over. Come on then. It's the boy. It's the boy. My guy, we've done it. We have done it. Let's go. What is the IGT of this new world record? Let's see. Can he just rest on? Yeah, he can. Cool. Right. Let's have a look. Oh, I'm so happy. I mean, I've just turned my camera on to turn it off because stream isn't going to be on for much longer, but IGT is 1854. That's pretty damn hot. That is pretty damn hot. Wow, everybody, that's a new Knuckles Chaotix world record, and I'm probably going to call the stream there. But thank you for all the GGs. Yeah, I'm quite happy. I don't know what to do now. I'll probably learn some more Sonic 2 because I've been promising to do that for a while. But yes, the boy, we've done it. We've done it, my guy.